When you guys on Colossians chapter 2, reading from verse 19, it says, "And not holding fast to the head, from whom the whole body, nourished and knit together through its joints and ligaments, grows with a growth that is from God." And so those that have been distracted by the religious activities, it talks about angels, worship of angels, Sabbath days, festivals, all these different laws. And as we go through this, it touches on unclean things and what to drink, what not to drink. There's many different religious rules that kind of pull us away from the main purpose, who is Jesus. And so when we're not holding fast to the head, we start to lose the strength that's in the structure, because it goes on to say Jesus is the head. So that metaphor obviously implies that the head guides the church and tells the church what to do, but there's a lot more to it in this verse, because it says nourished. And so like a vine or a tree gets nourished through the roots and that, and the whole of the church is nourished through Jesus. And he goes on to say knit together through its joints and ligaments. And so he holds the whole church together. So no, he leads the church, he nourishes the church, he holds the church together. And it says grows with a growth that is from God. And he grows the church. And so every element of the body is supplied and sustained by Jesus. And so as soon as we start heading to things that are not about him, and more religious type of activities that don't really help us in any regard, we actually start drifting away. It goes on to say in verse 20, "If with Christ you died to the elemental spirits of the world, why, as if you were still alive in the world, do you submit to regulations? Do not handle, do not touch, do not taste, and do not touch." And so that's the question, is why would we go back to a whole lot of laws that were pictures and shadows and types of Jesus when we have Jesus right now? And so why would we go back to not eating certain foods, not touching that makes us unclean, not drinking this or that, not taking this day one as a rest day and that not the other day? And so we don't want to be putting ourselves back under the law, under the bondage of things that actually point to Jesus, rather be in Jesus himself. It goes on to say, verse 22, referring to things that all perish as they are used according to human precepts and teachings. And so these things, they had a value, they pointed to Christ, but they're very temporal. They affect the body in the sense externally, but they perish. And so we always got to look at, evaluate things, whatever we're doing, is it eternal? Is it something that will last forever? Or is it something that will just be burnt up when the world gets burnt up? So whatever activity you're involved with, religious activity, just evaluate it from the perspective of how important is it in heaven? How important is it from an eternal perspective? Verse 23, "These have indeed an appearance of wisdom in promoting self-made religion and asceticism and severity to the body, but they are of no value in stopping the indulgence of the flesh." And so they appear religious. You fast for many hours, you deprive the body, and it seems like you may be attaining some spiritual height, or getting more spiritual, but in fact they don't have any value. And the value we need to be looking at is, are we conquering sin? Are we producing the fruits of the Spirit? Are we walking in the Spirit and not in the flesh? And if it's not helping in that sense, it has no value. So let's evaluate our lives today. Amen.